Good morning and good afternoon. We are here with another Man-to-Man, and it is Monday, so it's Man-to-Man Monday.
Oh, yeah.
And it is Ethan. Vaughn is here, a good friend. I've probably known you 20 years, maybe?
Yeah, it's been
right around there. And
it's been a while.
Unlike some of the other people we've had on here, it wasn't through basketball.
No.
Other things, neighbors being same area. So Ethan isn't very interesting. Got a great story. He's going to tell us some things today. First, what we'd like you to do is introduce yourself to us.
My background is I grew up as a little kid out in Hooper in the 70s.
Not Hooper. Hooper.
No, it's Hooper. Like you look in a book and you read cookies. It's Hooper. So I grew up out there, and I ran through fields. I wore cutoffs and bare feet, no shirt all summer, and we just would run through the fields and cut the corn down and everything like that. We would build huts and things. So that was my childhood, and I loved summer. I lived for summer. So I grew up doing that stuff, but it was kind of tough because when you got into your teenage years, you wanted to be among your friends and out and away from all the farming stuff. So we drove all the time. We had to drive out to our friends and things. So that's kind of how I grew up and stuff. So I grew up with, so I had, well, it was weird because I had three other brothers, and we were all about the same age. There were four of us within a 5-year period. So we were all together there. And then we had two sisters that came after us. So we were always fighting and arguing and stealing each other's stuff and give me that thing back and at each other's throats all the time. My whole childhood, we were totally doing that. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's kind of how that works. That kind of worked out. But my dad was gone a lot. He traveled for work.
Your dad drove the Z28, and so he which was
he went all the way to Texas, down to Florida, and all the way back. And he was gone during my high school period, like junior high school, he was just gone.
Okay, so that's interesting. So he wasn't around a lot.
No,
because he was out trying to take care of the family and provide.
Yep. And
so what was that like, not having him around?
It was hard because, like I said, we were four boys. We were punching each other and knocking each other out. Yeah. And we would run through the house and knock stuff over. And my mom was like, I hope you kill each other off.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Yeah. She was having
she
had a hard time with us. We were fighting, and
four boys, and then you had and then you had two sisters.
Yeah, two sisters. They came really a lot later.
So your mom was.
They came 10 years after, or 12 years after my youngest brother. So it was hard. So he was gone like what, a few weeks at a time. Then he'd come back. What was it like when he was around? Well, so when he was around, he was basically watching sports on TV. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
And if we wanted to talk to him, he'd be like, shut up and get out of here.
Oh.
Shut up and get out of here. Yeah. I'm watching TV.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but Dad, I need to talk to you about this. No, get out of here. I'm watching TV.
Yeah.
So that's at least what I remember. And so I'm like, okay, he doesn't care about me. He only cares about the game. Whatever. But I've made sure I tried with my kids to not
do that.
Not be that way.
Well, how do you think that? So him not, I mean, obviously he had to be gone because that was his job. But what kind of effects did you see? Because I know we talked about before, mentors or mentorship. Yeah. And in that vein, what was that like? What kind of a mentor or the lack of being a mentor?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I had to figure out life all on my own. I got no input from my dad. And even when you would ask him advice, like he just wasn't going to give you advice. He got no advice. We were out there amongst the English, as they say. We got no advice on how to be and do. Yeah, we would. Yeah. Socially, we would mess up and, don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, okay, whatever.
The world will correct you, right?
Yeah,
a lot of times
they will. But see, the world correcting you is like, that's harsh.
Yeah.
Because the world doesn't care about your feelings. The world doesn't care.
Yeah.
And so if you have a mentor that cares, they can tell you the way it is. If you get out in the world and you do this, they're going to unload on you. So you've got to not do that at home.
Sure.
We needed that.
Yeah.
We needed him coming and busting our heads and saying, you cannot fight each other. You need to love each other.
Yeah.
And so you're going to sit in the room next to each other until you laugh and you're joking. That's what we needed. We needed to have that laid down, but he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't do that. So my mom was like, when your dad gets home,
you're
in trouble. When he gets home, you're going to get a whooping.
But did he give you a whooping?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did that, but he didn't.
Yeah, he'd come home and he
wasn't
would give us a
imparting the
whooping.
wisdom and saying, hey, this next time you're going to try this. But,
and you can't be doing this stuff. And he was angry and mad.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, crap. And then he would tell us to sit on the chair, or he would take away privileges for a month or a year or whatever.
But it never
you can't play with that kid across the street for a year. Because I'd go out and do something stupid.
But it lasted
get
a week.
In trouble.
Or if that.
The next day, he's gone. I'd be like, hey, you want to play?
It's always, I mean, obviously, the mentorship thing. I mean, like, my dad, they're totally different. But, yeah, he would tell you stuff all the time. But as far as a mentor, you know, when I think of a mentor, you think of somebody who's going to give you good advice ahead of time, trying to head you off at the pass and guide you a little bit. Maybe
here's how the world works.
Yeah, hey, I've lived this experience. Let me share you this, and then because the thing is, it's no different than having children. You're mentoring them in the same way.
Yeah,
you're going to tell them from experience, and we might be right 95% of the time as parents.
Sure,
and they're only going to listen when they want to. Right, that's one of the things.
After a certain age, you can't tell them anything.
Yeah, and they're going to do whatever they might listen to your advice.
But when you're young, you know, when you're a kid between the age of 5 and 11 years old, you love your dad.
Oh yeah,
you're like, you'll hang out with him even if he's grumpy and pissed off.
Yeah,
well, sometimes, right? But you know, I remember my dad like fixing the car, and I wanted to really figure out and learn how to fix the car with him, and I'd go stand there with him, and he'd be like, what are you doing here? And he would fix the car and like, go away, I'm fixing the car. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just go away. But
so in reference to your dad, you know, and the way he was, as far as maybe not necessarily being a great mentor, what have you done differently as a father to, you know, impart some wisdom and be a mentor to your kids?
Well, so the work thing is probably the same as my dad in that sense. Like, I just want to do it alone. I just need to work alone. But with my kids, I made sure that when I would come home from work, the kids were mine. Mm-hmm. And at first it was kind of hard. Oh, they're mine? And Daniel was like, okay, they're yours. But I got into the groove of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, after work, they're mine. So we would get together, we would do things, we'd just play.
Yeah.
We'd just play together. And I would always read to them at night. Every night I'm reading to them for, 20, 30 minutes, books and stuff. So I made sure I read to them every night. We played. And then later on, when they were a little older, I had something called the Dad Lecture Series. So I would give them a dad lecture.
Yeah.
So,
which I'm sure was
stuff like
they loved it.
Yeah, it was like physics or something. We'd be driving and I'd look at a bus and the bus would say some statistic on the side. And I told them about that. I would tell them about that. We'd talk about causation versus correlation. Yeah. And we would talk about, like, I'd tell my kids, we'd be driving. I said, kids, here's an interesting thing. We would talk about that stuff in the car all the time. I'd be like, doing dad stuff like that. So I had dad lectures. I gave them all kinds of advice. I'm like, what do you think? Like, but I tried to make sure that when I was giving them advice, I would ask them, I was probably a little bit more of this, even as little kids, I'd ask them what they thought, what they wanted. How do you think you would do with this? And they would tell me, and I'm like, okay, let's try that.
That's good. Cause
let's try that.
I don't think I did that very well at all when they were younger, but kids, the one thing that I will say that they want, with a dad anyway, they want to interact with you and talk to you. And like my youngest son, Jake, he's always like asking me all these questions. And a lot of times I'm like, I don't know everything, man. How can you keep asking me? And I said,
and that's
look it up on Google, and then
no, that's important.
So tell us a little bit more about your career. And then you also had an interesting experience.
Yeah.
In-depth.
Well, so my career has basically just been a fallback because when I was in high school, I was going to be an Air Force pilot, and I got an appointment at the Air Force Academy.
Oh, wow.
And then in March of my senior year, which is too late to apply for any other scholarships.
Yeah.
It's too late.
Yeah.
They canceled my appointment, and they said, "Oh, because you had asthma as an 8-year-old, we can't give you any."
Don't you know anything? You just lie.
I know. I should have said, "I have asthma. Prove it."
Yeah.
You prove it to me that I have asthma. I don't have asthma. So I didn't know you were I didn't know you could get a waiver. I didn't know you could reapply. I didn't know you could tell them that.
Oh,
I
wow,
just
yeah.
thought it was done.
Yeah.
And so here I am at the end of my senior year, and I got no prospects, nothing.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Roy High.
Oh, okay.
And so I was in AB classes. I did all this stuff. I got into the Air Force Academy. I was good to go. And they told me, no, you're 4F because you had asthma as an 8-year-old. So I'm like, oh, great. I got nothing. All my friends are they got scholarships to go to Weber State or something. I didn't even have that.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything. So computers. So after my mission, I came back, I started into Weber State, and I was going to do computer science. That was my computer science, and programming was kind of my fallback. That's what I did all through high school. I never took a computer class ever in high school because those were nerds.
But that also was,
and I was
a far cry different of what computers were.
I was a computer hacker. I wasn't a nerd. So I never took a computer class in high school. I was not one of those people.
I don't even know if they had those in my high
school.
Yeah,
I could have taken AP computer science, but I never touched it. Because the stigma. So that was our thing, is figuring out how to break the copy protection schemes and crack them and stuff. That's what we were doing.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was fun, engaging work to figure all that out.
Yeah.
So that's what we were doing. But anyway, so I did computers all through high school in that sense. And then in college, I'm like, I guess I'll go into this computer sciencey stuff. But after college was done, I got hired on as a programmer, doing that stuff. And then I guess the rest is history, but it was hard. It was hard to do. So after like almost 20 years doing all this grinding, I got a job with Amazon, and we all moved our whole family to Seattle. And that was about 2010. And that was a revelation for me, like going out to Seattle and working for Amazon, because I always say this about Amazon. It's the first company I've ever worked for where they treat you like an adult. Everything else, you were a child. Okay, now do this, sit here, right?
Yeah.
But Amazon, you were an adult.
Yeah.
So it was great.
So Amazon was obviously an awesome experience. You guys loved it there, but I know we were there for what, 7 years, and then you ended up coming back home to Utah.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So we were there for 5 solid years, and that's when my kids grew up. They grew up in Seattle.
Sure.
And so we came back at the end of they came back and we're in high school here now. My friends went and worked for Fidelity. I'm like, that's the only thing that'll get me back. Well, they reached out to me and they said, hey, we've got an opening. You want to move back here? And I'm like, sure. Yeah, I'll work for Fidelity. Yeah. But I got this opportunity to work for a startup, and it was called Divvy, and they were going to change the world. Divvy for 5 years. So that was a bit of a stress. Yeah. It was stressful. So we're cranking, we're stressing, we're doing all this stuff all day long, all night long, doing it. So it was hard. That was hard. So, but 2020, about the time all the COVID stuff started happening, I started getting this weird tick in my leg where I would try to sleep at night and my leg would kick.
Oh, yeah.
And I couldn't sleep. So from about March until November, I had this kick. So I would pace around the house till 5 a.m. sometimes, and finally be too tired and finally be able to sleep. So I'd sleep from 5 a.m. till 9 a.m., get up and be at work all day.
Yeah.
I'm at work. No problem with me. No worries. and it was killing me.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to talk to somebody. So I went through the whole year like that. And then at the end of the year, I took a break I took the whole week off during Thanksgiving, chillaxed, everything was good. It was all great because Monday I was going to wrap it up and push that code in and be done with it. So Monday I was talking to QA, we're online and everything. And I'm like, I can't see things today. I'm telling him, I'm having a hard time seeing my screen. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, here's this, here's that. And I'm like, I don't know. So then we finished that up, and then right around noon, I said, guys, I got to go to the urgent care. I can't. I have a huge headache. I can't. And I bolted. So I went to the urgent care, and they're like, you need to go to the ER. We don't know what's going on. Like I had so much pain.
Yeah.
It was unbearable.
Yeah.
So I was basically like crying in the ER. I'm like, so they plugged me in, got me pain taken care of. I was there for 8 hours or 10 hours or however long they keep you at the ER. So Danielle was there, and she was saying, guys, this sounds like a stroke. I'm reading your pamphlet that I got in your ER. It checks every
Sitting
box.
on the table right next to him.
And they're like, no, it's not a stroke.
Yeah.
It's just a severe migraine. Because he gets migraines, and that's just a severe migraine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I can't
see. Yeah.
I can't see anything out of my eye. It looks like the fjords, a map of the fjords.
Yeah.
I can't see anything. It's like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that'll go away. That's just called an aura. I'm like, this ain't no aura I've ever seen. I've had auras. They're flickering on the outside.
Yeah.
Aura flickers on the outside. This is occluding my vision.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So they send us home. So about 8 p.m. we go home. We eat dinner. Her brother comes over, gives me a blessing. We're hanging out. And then about 11 p.m. we're going to bed. So I'm stumbling to bed on the sleeping pill thinking, oh, geez, this pill is really affecting me. I can't even stand up, and I fall down at the side of the bed. Kadoosh. I fall down there, and Daniel's like, oh, my gosh, what's going on? And I couldn't move my whole right side of my body. I'm like, look at me. I can't even move my arm. But I couldn't talk either. I'm just like, I couldn't talk. And I'm like, what the crap's going on? And
scary.
Daniel was like, that's your
stroke.
stroke.
Yeah,
She's
man.
like, stroke. Solomon, get in here. He runs in there.
Nuts.
They're trying to carry me. And she called her brother, and he comes over, and they called 911, but then they dragged my butt down the stairs and threw me in the car. Emergency room, and Daniel's got him, and she's like, it's a stroke, guys. I think it might be a stroke. we should talk to the doctor. We think it might be a stroke now. And she's like, yes, it's a stroke.
Yeah.
So they finally got me in a helicopter and out of there. They siphoned the blood clots out of my brain. They were like, okay, we got him. Okay, now let's siphon the ones out of his eye, because he's got eyeball one. Started siphoning that. Another one went to my brain. Okay,
stop.
Take the one out of my brain and stop.
Yep.
We're not doing anything else.
Yeah.
So then they pulled off and see how I'm in the morning.
Yeah.
So in the morning I wake up, I got the tube down and everything, and I looked around and everybody's there, and I looked at Danielle and I said, I can't see anything out of my eye. Totally blank. And she understood what I was saying. She understood, because I'm just like, my eye's gone. Yeah. It's gone.
And so for everybody, right? So you didn't ever get that back?
No, it's gone.
Yep.
It's gone. So it's a very rare condition where you get and it's usually a stressful job situation. Yeah. People with stressful jobs get this thing where you get inflammation in your carotid.
So you got the clots and you had the stroke. How, after all was said and done, how did that affect you physically, for one, and then talk about the emotional and the mental side of those effects?
It's like, oh, I got to figure this out. Yeah. Oh, this is new.
Yeah.
Oh, driving around the curve, I need to now look like this. So it was weird, but yeah, I figured it out. I was able to compensate for it. So that's what it was. It was just, I figured it out. Yeah. Every once in a while, I'll be like, I really miss my eye.
So your wife, Danielle, has mentioned and I'd say this is kind of a unique ability that you're all, because not everybody's like this. And what this is you have you're always willing to figure it out. So you had obviously this isn't a small thing. I mean, there's a lot of people this is a rough thing in life that you have to figure out, and you're always really good at figuring things out. And I did mention that she did say you were always right as well. So, I mean, I've never heard that out of a wife before.
Yeah, I'm sure she's
that is another unique skill. So,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. I'm always right. No, no, that's definitely not.
I'm never right. So, and I know that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but
talk about the willing. You're willing. I mean, most people aren't willing to do that hard stuff and then look at themselves. And I don't know this.
I mean, that's the thing
about figure it out now.
About your own strengths. You don't recognize them as strengths.
Yeah.
Like I don't even think about it on a conscious level.
No.
I don't think about that. Right. So it's just something. It's just what I do. Like, I'm just like, oh, okay, I got to figure this out.
Yeah, I got to figure out a way to get through this and adapt to it.
I mean, and that's what's made me a good software engineer. But it can lead to madness sometimes. It can really be a stressful thing. Yeah. But anyway, that's kind of what I do. I stress a lot about figuring stuff out.
But that's a good thing to talk about. So, I mean, who doesn't, right? We're always. I mean, I don't know. I probably don't. I've never to my wife come across, but I've always been worried or stressed about stuff, and which is kind of it's a sucky place to be because it takes a toll on you. And I've always been one of those people. Same thing, like, okay, I'm just going to figure this out. That's all I ever did in my kind of role in my family, was to be the guy that figured it out and fixed it and moved on. But there's a lot of good things to unpack out of there. Like, it gives you some skills. It's a good way to, when you're always figuring it out and you're open to that, you're being a bit vulnerable. You got to look other places for help.
Yeah.
You can't, which is a good lesson for, people that we can mentor in our lives. And then, as far as.
So this is the thing, when I was a kid, I didn't find out till like just very recently that I'm on the spectrum, the autism spectrum.
Oh, really?
I mean, Danielle she was always saying, you've got Asperger's or something like that, right? And I'm like,
and you're like, what is that? That doesn't sound very good.
I don't have Asperger's. Anyway, but it's true. Like, I could tell you some stories about when we were dating and stuff where she was like, I don't know about this guy.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't know.
To be fair, all of them say that.
Sure. And that's fair because they need to say that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, if you don't pass that
it's
test.
a process, yeah.
You got to get
if you didn't, then there's something wrong with you because you're lying. You're hiding something.
Yeah. So, but it's hard. So being on the spectrum, over the last 27 years, I learned a lot about how to work within the world and kind of take that tendency and put it aside. Mm-hmm. Then I had the stroke. Yeah. And guess where we're at now? Yeah. That tendency is all right back to the beginning.
Oh yeah.
All that years got erased. I'm now like, I don't understand. That's stupid in meetings at work. I don't understand what you're saying.
Potentially cause you a problem.
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
And the CEO's like, what's stupid?
They're loving it, right?
And everybody's like, he's arguing with the CEO. And then I get dismissed. Okay, you're fired. Oh, wait, I didn't mean it. Right? Yeah. So that's hard. So I went through a period. It was hard because after my stroke, I went through a period of losing. I lost 3 manager jobs after that because I was arguing with the C-level suite guy. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see it as arguing. I'm just telling him the reality. Yeah. Well, there's this law called the law of physics, and you can only do a certain amount of things in a certain amount of time. Yeah. And this plan that you've got is us doing more things than we can do.
Odd that he would not, or it wouldn't take that well.
Yeah, your quarterly planning is stupid, and here's why. Right. So and
so how did you deal with that? And figure it out.
I haven't figured it out. I don't know what the crap to do. I'm kind of at a loss. I'm like, I don't know I'm dealing with these people this way.
And so that makes me
so
think
it's been hard. It's been hard to go through 27 years and now have all of that erased. And I'm like, I'm starting square one now.
See, and that's you actually make a good point. So last week we actually, and who knows who will see this that saw it, but there's a webinar that my sister-in-law was on, and it's a friend of ours, Chad Hymas, awesome guy. He's in a wheelchair from an accident that he had. And my sister-in-law, Gina, asked him a question about, his situation. And it's been 26, 27 years. And she says, well, and it's just amazing how you've overcome it. And he stopped. She goes, I haven't overcome it. I am overcoming it, which I thought is a great lesson. And I will always be overcoming it. And we all are, whether it's that or like this, you're going to be overcoming it.
You make some progress
in your life.
But I will say this. So in the last job that I got, I mercifully got a job at Fidelity again.
There you go.
So I got fired from Divvy.
Went back to the home run.
I got a job at Fidelity. I'm excited about this job. Yeah. But I got into it, and in the first few months, they're saying, my boss is telling me, I got some feedback from people. They're saying you're kind of hard to work with and you're difficult and stuff. And I'm like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
So I really found out that I have to make sure that the person I'm talking with knows that I'm not criticizing them.
Yeah.
I'm not criticizing you.
Yeah.
I'm not criticizing your work. I think this is amazing what you've done. This is great. Mm-hmm. But I don't say that. I just say, why do we do it this way? Yeah. Why are we doing it like this? That's what I'm saying. And I really want to know the answer.
Yeah.
I really want to know the answer.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking. I'm asking for why are we doing it this way?
Yeah.
But he took it as he's criticizing everything I've done. He thinks that I'm stupid.
Yeah.
And then I got that feedback from my boss, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm diving into it again.
Yeah.
So what I've done is I've made sure that I'm really, really particular about how I speak with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I use little heart emojis all day long. I'm like, and
throw those babies in there.
And I found that every single statement I make, I make a statement, and then I put a question mark on it and say, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
Right? But that's how I usually communicate, is I say, this is this way and this is that way. We're doing it like this, done.
Yeah.
And so I go and edit that. I'm like, oh crap, we're doing it this way, question mark?
Yeah.
So how would you guys do it? Now, it's lucky.
Yeah.
I'm kind of lucky that I work remote. Everybody works remote now. Those guys are in New Hampshire, and my boss is in Texas, and I'm Utah.
Mm-hmm.
So I can type that thing in and like, oh crap, that sounds like a statement I just made.
Yeah.
That sounds lame. Delete. And I type it as a question.
Yep.
So that's what I've done. I've made sure I've edited everything I've done. And I got a great compliment. Like the boss came back and said, I got some feedback from Alexander. And he said he brought up a condition, and you said, I don't know, let's look at it. And you worked through it and you ground through it. But he told me you were willing to figure out to do it his way. And he really appreciated that. So I got that compliment, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's awesome. So we're working really good now.
Yeah.
It's great.
But you said two things.
We had to go through that. It was tough.
Two things you brought back up when we talked about the willing. So there's the skill of the willing, but you brought up one that I think is big for all of especially for guys, which is habits, right? You get in bad habits. Where does it take? You got to get in. You're in this trying to get in a habit where you're keeping yourself cognizant and aware, which is a big deal for all of us in how we deal with everybody in relationships.
And really, the only difference is between what happened in this job and why I got fired at Divvy. The only difference is they gave me a second chance at this job. He said, he thinks you're lame, you're out. No, he said, he thinks you're lame, can you work on it? Yeah, I'll work on it. But at Divvy, they said, you argued with the guy, you're gone. You're done. We're moving you from thing. But I don't understand. Why am I getting moved? We're just moving you. And I'm like, why? Dude, my team is firing all cylinders. We're doing great work here. They all love me. Mm-hmm. Why am I getting moved? Oh, because you're not taking responsibility. Okay, where am I not taking? And they just glossed it over and just said, you're out. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get a second chance there. No second chance. I made one mistake. Yep. You're out. Yeah. So, but here they said, you're not good. You're not easy to work with. Can you work on that? Sure that I'm asking his opinion. What do you think? Yeah. I make sure that I made sure that I changed that aspect of how we communicate. Mm-hmm. And it was all me. And that was kind of a hard thing to get through. It's like, why is it all me? Yeah. Why do I have to change? Making changes. Why can't he change? But see, and adapt to me.
All the stuff that you're saying is good stuff. Because back to so Gina and the foundation, the Stay Mentally Strong.
Yeah.
So that's if taking it back to and why she's doing that, and then why we're trying to do this as far as kind of focus on men, and of course that's for men and their mental and emotional health. But for our mental and emotional health, a lot of the stuff you said to me are just hit them real quick. It's your habits, having good habits that we continue to work on, and being willing to being good at working through things, and then also being willing to make changes. And that's the thing that I've learned the last couple of years. You grow a certain way, and I always thought same thing. I could say many stories. Everybody's an idiot. I got it figured out. They're all dumb. I'm right, which is the opposite of what the truth is. There's a lot of different ways to get it done, right, or to do things. Yeah. And being willing and open and being able to see another. We all got to figure out what our skill is. Everybody's got something, and then focus on that and try to stay create habits every day that keep us focused and locked in and grounded, and which is what you've done. Because this you're saying, well, I had a stroke, and you're making it sound probably to people like, well, he's just rolling right through it. That's a huge deal. Yeah. Then, and it's still a big deal. It's affected your life in lots of ways, and you seem to be. And one thing we talk about, and I don't know if you have any of this as far as the community. We talk about creating a community of whether it's friends, dudes, whatever. Have you had much of that? Because I never, other than playing sports, have you ever, you know what I'm saying? We kind of tried to do that with the pickleball thing in the summer, just to
Yeah,
get a
yeah.
place for guys to come out, which is difficult with your. I thought you did pretty awesome not having depth perception. Yeah,
It's terrible.
No, you were not.
It's
I've seen terrible. Believe me,
I
Yeah,
was whiffed.
there was. You got it back a lot of times. It's a difficult thing, but as far as that, what
that's a far cry, like from what I used to be. Like it's so hard. I mean, every
Yeah.
time. So I had one of my, I guess, prideful occurrences is when you're at teppanyaki and they're throwing shrimp at you. I've caught every shrimp they've ever thrown at me.
Yeah.
High, low, in and out. I caught every one of them.
Now it's just sticking right to your eye.
Now, as soon as that shrimp hits the air, I don't know if it's 5 feet or 10 miles from me. I have no idea. As soon as it gets in the air, I'm like, I'm out.
Just open your mouth
I just duck and run. I'm like, oh crap, there's a shrimp in the air, and I run. So it's hard. It's hard. So pickleball, that was hard, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, those kind of things have changed my life. But as far as like community goes, I really only have two friends that I interact with. I need that outlet, right?
Yeah.
Well, I have a third guy. He's in town. We go grab lunch sometimes or dinner.
Yeah.
So and we'll talk shop too sometimes. So yeah, he's a great guy.
Well, and then the kind of in summing it up, one of the things that with the mentally strong thing, the foundation was vulnerability is a strength, right? And it really, again, I would say I didn't think that a couple of years ago, but it really is being open to things and being able to talk about what your problems and issues. And I really thank you for the vulnerability is really a strength, and you've been vulnerable many times. You're vulnerable in just hearing from what your wife says about, excuse me, of when you don't know something. Most of the time as men, as guys, we're like, we know everything. We're just going to be like, and even when we don't, we might lie it through our teeth and fake it until we figure it out. Yeah.
Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, you have to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. We can figure it out. We'll get that. So hopefully I'm getting
a great way to be.
Yeah. Hopefully I'm getting back into that mode and not the other mode where I'm like, you're stupid, sir. Yeah. This is a stupid plan and we're all idiots.
Yeah. We don't want you to go back to that. We don't, keep
that
doing
doesn't work so well, I found.
Well, at least you found yourself back, to the place that was working, before, right?
Oh man, that fidelity.
Yeah.
But when I was applying for jobs after Divvy let me go, I applied for like 15 jobs at Fidelity and never got a single interview.
Wow.
I'm like, it's
not
going to work. And then I applied for this job on the side. I'm like, I've never done security operations center. I don't even know anything about, but I applied for it anyway. Mm-hmm. And he called me and is like, you do software development, right? Yeah, software developer. We need you. I'm like, sweet, that's me.
Yeah.
So I can do that. So that's been great. I've loved every second of it.
Yeah. And that's it's another thing right there being, actually you've been vulnerable, even telling, talking about what hasn't gone right. That's a big thing. Ethan, I thank you for doing this because I said, it's not my favorite thing. And, I don't think there's an end in sight for me, but at least you only had to do a one and done. Maybe there might be another one in the future. Who knows? Sure,
that'd be fine. I would love to come and talk to you about other aspects of mental health and stuff that I've found. And
again, the kind of the core statement: so vulnerability is strength. You're vulnerable, and that's a good way to be. And we grateful that you were here today, and that you did this for us. So thanks, and
that was fun.
We'll see you next time.
Okay.